in the opposition, ACN then, there was a big campaign. Yes, I remember very well. Against the removal of subsidy, that it should have been removed, in phases. And I remember very well the protest was large. The SNG, that's the Save Nigeria group, led by one-time APC presidential aspirant, that's Pastor Tunde Bakare. So I mean, there was so much that was happening then. But 11 years later, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu removed the subsidy, and Nigerians are really, we're just coming out of the whole chaos surrounding the introduction of the new Naira notes by the last administration of Muhammadu Buhari, and then the subsidy came in. But in between, Mr. President has promised that he's going to make life comfortable for Nigerians as much as he can. Of course, the 5 billion naira palliative that was released to the governors, palliative funds that was released to the governors. And then, of course, for the first time, I think last month, we shared the state and local government got the highest or the largest they've ever shared in terms of what was coming from the Federation account at the end of the month. So, well, we've done this countdown. We started off the moment the screening got completed, and then we're trying to look at the weight of expectations, what we should expect from the ministers, whoever gets what. And today we're going to be focusing on one of the ministries that, as much as a lot of people felt, well, it's not a revenue generating ministry as such, but then it's a ministry that has the potential of employing hundreds of thousands of young people in terms of engagement, talent engagement, and that's the Ministry of Sports Development. Now, Mr. President actually created that ministry, carved it out. Yes, I think that's the right word. Out of the Ministry of Youth, and yes, it was always the Ministry of Youth Sports and Youth Sport Development. But now we have the Minister of Sports Development. That means the president understands the gravity of what the responsibility should be, or perhaps the potential that we have in terms of how much we can get as a country, how big we can get in terms of our potentials, in terms of what we can win, what we can benefit, how the Ministry of Sports in Nigeria can actually help the government to, especially with the large population that we have. 60% of Nigerian, over 60% actually, as actually people that falls within the ages of 18 and 35, according to the data that was released by INEC after the collection of the PVC before the last election. And now we have a new sport minister, and there's been a lot of issue around these. Some people say, well, he's a farmer. Somebody even made a soft joke. By the way, I will be having this conversation in terms of looking at the task ahead for the new Minister of Sport Development. Yes, that's John Eno. Well, he won his election into the Senate from Cross River State, but President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in his wisdom, decided to pull him out to come serve in his cabinet as the Minister for Sports Development. And I have with me in this on the show today, Dr. Michelle Obi. And, it's a sport and media solutionist. That's a unique way of introducing yourself, by the way. Let's start this way. Good evening, and thank you for joining us live in the Situation Room on Mainland 98.3 FM.
Yes, a beautiful day. Thank you, Pioneer. And I want to say that whatever nature of occupation we have of our sports minister, the good thing is that between farming and sports, there is a good relationship. You need to cultivate your garden, and after cultivating your garden, you look for a good harvest. and all of it comes with sowing seed. And once the sweet seed blossoms, you have a good fruit. You have fruit that you can sell, you can keep, you can use, and that's how sport is. If you don't nurture it from the level of the planting, you never get a good harvest. And sport is not just play as we used to say in those days. Sport is now big business. Imagine having 3 Kylian Mbappe who are being priced for $1 billion just merely to transfer them from one club to another. If they were Nigerians, what will you be talking about $3 billion? At a time when our foreign reserves, going by the JP Morgan estimation, is almost $3 billion reserve.
Well, somebody even made a joke that since the Minister of Sports, Senator John Eno, is actually a farmer, maybe now we would have green peaches across the country.
You see, there are so many dimensions to that. You understand what green is all about. And the good thing about it is that the Tinubu administration had a plan. They came out with a renewable agenda. And that agenda, I was going through that agenda when I was trying to situate how sports is being taken either seriously or seriously by this dispensation. And the agenda is very clear on what they think about sports. They say towards achieving a coordinated sports development program, we will create an enabling environment for sports to thrive as business. The new national sports industry policy will be fully implemented. Incentives will be provided to attract private sector investment and participation in sports infrastructural development. Athletes are the very heart and soul of sporting success. A Tinubu government will establish and fund an athletes welfare fund. Sports development in all its facets will be made a priority item under a Tinubu government with an increase in funding. And the power of sports diplomacy in international relationship is predicated on the success and podium performance of a country's athletes. We will develop a template for training that will return Nigerian teams and individual athletes to winning ways. A sports code of governance will also be developed to ensure compliance with set goals and objectives. Modern sporting infrastructure will be developed in each of the 6 geopolitical zones of the country to elevate our sporting standards. That's Tinubu's renewed hope agenda for sports, in summary. And so, for Sports Minister John Owen Eno, for short Joe, that's what his friends, I'm told, call him. His mission is simple. It's well defined. And already you had a John, forerunner to his coming. That was Sunday Dare, who had the sports industry policy put in place, almost going to a year now. And of course, he came up with a football master plan. So John Owen Eno doesn't need anything to do than to go through this document and start work immediately.
Thank you very much, Dr. Michel Obi. Of course, for the people listening, for kids like us back then, I grew up watching, Dr. Michel Obi on TV. And he I told him earlier today, said, he was part of the people that, made it easy for us to choose between playing football or actually being a sports journalist. But maybe if it was now, I would have actually preferred to actually play football.
that would be good money for you, and you will counting your money in pounds and dollars.
If I pull off the Kylian Mbappe deal for just 1 year, I'm made. I'm absolutely made. Let me just go and rest and enjoy my money. So let's get straight up into the conversation today. I like the fact that you've brought up, according to the renewed hope policy document of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu when he was campaigning. But now we have a minister. And, the ministry used to be Ministry of Sports Development. But now they've removed it. Now it used to be it's now sports development.
Sorry to cut you. There's been a whole transition over time. Indeed, when I was a special advisor to the Minister of Sports, then we had youth development attached to it, and even before then, we had even women. Minister of Sports, women, youth and women development. Yes. Even in the early 80s, it was under information. So it has come a long way to finding its uniqueness, or some would say it's independent. And for those who are calling for a sports commission, the simple answer I give to them: if you have a Ministry of Sports dedicated entirely to sports, do you really need another sports commission dedicated to sports? The professionals you are going to use in the sports commission, are they going to fly from outside, or are they not part of the system? So And what would the Minister of Sports be doing if you want to create a sports commission? So you find out that the government has made it easy for the new minister now to focus entirely on
On
sport.
sport development, yes, because
Yes.
it used to be Ministry of Youth and Sport Development when Sunday Dare was minister, when Solomon Dalung was minister. So now it's now Ministry of Sport Development. They've removed youth away from it. What does
Yes.
that say in terms of the weight of expectations on the new sport minister? I mean, you and I know a lot of people had also said he does not have any experience in sports. He does not have that background. Of course, you know Sunday Dare very well. When he became the sport minister, we knew that the right man had actually been given the mandate in terms of where he's coming from. His
He was not exactly the right man.
Yes,
The
no,
point is
that's
that
I said when he was appointed. For some
Yes.
of us that knows where it's coming from, we thought at least we have someone that understands, considering where we are coming from with Solomon Dalong. But now, do you think the Minister of Sport understands the weight of expectations that is upon him? Now he's focusing on sport development. That means the president is really particular about this ministry. Talk to us about the task ahead for the new sport minister.
Yeah, thank you. Let me just say that if anybody has the task of becoming sports minister, the first thing you have to consider is sports itself demands total excellence. And excellence is a habit, meaning you have to go at it, practice it, perfect it. And excellence in sports is not limited. It's not localized. Excellence in sports means meeting the world standards. If you want to be at the top of where it matters, where sports is big business, and that excellence demands certain elements which anybody who is involved with managing it must not compromise standards. In that sense, if you want to go for any kind of sport in Nigeria, your target should be beyond just what we used to call play. You must be looking at how you want to get laurels, how you want to professionalize all the sectors, that's talking sports specifically, and then seeing how you can compete with the best in the world, and that's where the big money is.
Okay, if you go down memory lane from 1999, we've had quite a lot of sport ministers, from Bala Kaoje to Sani Danisa to Musa Mohammed, down to
let me help you away. John Eno John Owan Eno, Joe for short, is the 36th sports minister. That tells you, and we are Nigeria's independence 1960. So almost half of Nigeria's independence.
We've had ministers.
Number of ministers. So I want to put it in perspective for you.
So in terms of that, do you think we have enough potentials to maximize everything that is on for us? Now, this is what I mean. Now that we have sport development, the minister understands his focus, that is going to be getting the very best, going back to the grassroots, doing the things that would help us to understand our potentials. I remember I was having a conversation with a friend of mine outside of the country, and he said, the only thing we need to fix in our sport in Nigeria is the leadership, that we have the potential of becoming greater than even the Brazils and the United States of this world. Do you think the new sport minister understands the ministry is coming into?
I think your friend must have been thinking about Nigeria, because leadership is key, not only in sports. The irony of sports is that in Nigeria, everybody expects sports to be winning, sports to be at its zenith. Everybody expects sports to be a super achiever, and yet in other areas we are short of the minimum expectation. You want sportsmen to operate in an environment where the roads are not good, where there is no light, they have mosquito infested accommodation, and they don't even have good drinking water. The whole problem of the must be tackled for sports to even excel. And that is why the United Nations, in its wisdom, when they came out with the sports sustainable development goals, they said it, and I want to quote it effectively, that sports is a veritable enabler in meeting the sustainable development goals. How many of those goals you have? You have at 16, 17. And sports is the real catalyst. You have to use sports to engineer the attainment of some of these goals. How have we done that? Any minister coming to understand the power of leadership. Leadership is influence. Leadership is inspiration. And if the right leadership is missing, then the talent will not have the right direction. And I want to believe your friend was looking at Nigeria saying that if Tinubu himself as president does not understand that he has to put somebody who perfectly fits the demand of the sports milieu, then he doesn't understand the power of sports. And Mandela captured it effectively. That sports has the power to change the world. Australia, New Zealand just hosted the World Cup for women. Now they are thinking about hosting the World Cup for the men. They've seen the benefits. People were flying to Australia as if Australia is in Ore. I mean, you're talking about 27, almost from Nigeria, 27 hours flight if you stop and you add all the stuff. I mean, that people were going there because of sports, women football. And now, because of the kind of, look at what Australia, how they came out. They were setting new records in attendance.
Exactly.
That's the power of sports to not only galvanize the country towards understanding itself, but also seeing the potential, the power of the country to do so many things. In Nigeria here, what have we used sports? Intentionally, deliberate. There is no deliberate, there is no institutional investment. Any minister coming should know that sports can take away even unemployment in Nigeria. Our league, our national league, which we play for 38 weeks, if we make it effective for 38 weeks, you can have youth all across the country where league games are played to be useful every weekend or every midweek. Beyond even the football, there are other sports. Even the sports betting, look at the revenue for sports betting. If you are looking to fund sports, then there must be an effort to tax, at least take a certain amount of tax from sports betting, sports lottery, and even the sports pool. But there is no deliberate, there must be a deliberate effort. You must have the will and the way.
Now let's talk about the priority now. All of the ministers have assumed office. The Minister of FCT, Nyesom Wike, is talking. The Minister of Labour is talking. Now, for Senator John Eno, what do you think should be his priority? We can't deny the fact that Nigerian sport had not even kicked off. We've had our beautiful moments of brilliance, the Atlanta 96, even way before then, the USA 94, the under-17, the level of dominance, the 2013 Nations Cup also, that was won at the FMB Stadium in South Africa. And very recently, the performance of the Super Falcons at the just concluded FIFA World Cup, where they didn't lose a single game in 4 matches in regular time. They had a win, 2 draws, and they had a penalty loss against an eventual finalist in England. What do you think should be the priority of the new sport minister now, with all of the potentials that we have in front of us?
Let me keep it simple. You wouldn't expect John Eno, given his background, given where he's coming from, to come out and start talking with a measure of authority on sports. That is not his forte. That is not his pedigree. Of course, as somebody who is cerebral, the first thing he needs to do is to look at what is the literature of policies in sports. That's the first thing he needs to do to guide himself. Even before he begins to talk, the only thing he can tell people that, look, I am going to meet with the stakeholders in sports, get what their thoughts are, but then he doesn't need anything more than even what the Tinubu agenda is saying. Even the APC manifesto, if you look at the APC manifesto, it's just they have 4 articles on sports, just 4 articles on sports, but they are very cardinal, and that can guide him. What he needs now is an action plan of where to start, and I've told you that where to start is easy. First, what are the facilities? You don't have the facilities you have, the sports facility, because the Tinubu government has promised to establish modern facility in 6 of the geopolitical, each of the 6 geopolitical. So what is this facility? In a Nigeria where people are telling us that our best stadium is the one in Uyo, interestingly built by your Senate President. You want to believe that? What are all the other facilities doing. So he has to take an inventory of that. He has to look at the sports policy, the direction, and then of course he has to do an inventory of the kind of professionals he has within the ministry, or even those who will support his mission. The problem of sports is known, very known. We know. Everybody talks about grassroots. What is even grassroots? We try to romanticize about going back to the grassroots or going back to the schools. It is to have a deliberate policy in place to ensure that individuals within those areas have access to sports facilities, have access to sports support, and of course, those who are practicing the sport enjoy it by the kind of remuneration they get. So the priority for him is to first look at what is available and then set an action plan for himself. He doesn't need to do too much.
If you say he doesn't need to do too much, a lot of people are also come up with the thoughts that there needs to be a lot of overhauling within our sports system, from the leadership, which we all agree that it's something that we're not particularly proud of. If the minister wants to be deliberate to achieve success in line with the plans and the vision of the president, give me 3 things that you feel he should get into it in terms of quick fix, in terms of long-term plans, and just things to put Nigerian sports at the world stage again, where we can be happy and we can be proud that Nigerian sports athletes can compete with anyone, anywhere in the world.
I don't need to overemphasize because when you repeat some of these things, they don't sound even nice again. Some of us have been talking in the past 40 years about what to do, and I say once you keep it simple, it helps. As sports minister, the first thing John Eno needs to do is to look at what will I do first. We have an Olympic Games just in Paris next year. Can we have a program to ensure that Nigeria meets even a basic expectation as spelled out in the Vision 2020 Sports Master Plan? We told us that by 2020, Nigeria should be in a place to have 5 gold medals. Can we even get 2 gold medals in Paris? Those are simple things you need to, the simple plan you need to put, but they are more sophisticated, more complicated in getting to that point, because time is not our friend, even in the short term. There is the Africa Games. It's supposed to have held in Ghana this year. If we had held in Ghana this year, are we even ready? Our basketball, a concert in the Olympics is not going. Our football men in the Olympics, where we got our only goal, we are not going. So if you say he needs to be deliberate, you have to look at the big areas. First, we have a new NFA. You have to give them time. They call them the NFF. You have to give them time to settle and see what direction, whether they are managing the game the way that matches the agenda of the president, or that matches even the expectation of the people. Because it's the people's game. You can't take it away from them. And we say that bring this game home. Don't rely on talents that have been nurtured by other countries and then you bring them on an emergency level, or what you call a fire brigade, and after that they go and stay in different countries without even keeping anything for us. So you need to think seriously, but then the answers and the problems have been well articulated. He doesn't need to do, that's why I say he doesn't need to do too much. He needs to just pick up ask people in the ministry, give me some of the reports that have been done, highlights of this report, and then he can come out with a short action plan. The stadium, even going around the facilities, National Stadium in Lagos here, it's a scandal. You know that.
Of course.
Dare tried to touch here. He brought 1 or 2 support
partnership. The private sector.
What did he do? He didn't even scratch.
He didn't kick off.
The Abuja National Stadium, where Dangote brought money, people talk about the pitch being a shame or a disgrace, that the pitch cannot even host a serious international football game. So these are some little things. We don't need to elaborate on some of these little areas. I'm saying that it must have a big picture, and that big picture entails looking at what needs to be done. And what needs to be done is simple. The first thing is, where will I start? Is it with the facilities? Because the facilities will not be used only by sportsmen. Even the masses of the people can make use of the facility for their health being, for exercise and all that, keeping fit. So it's not just for the sportsmen alone. If you want the country itself to be healthy, you must involve the country, what you call sports for all. So is it the facilities you want to start with, and ensure that in every each of the 6 geopolitical zones, we have a facility befitting of any standard you can think of across the globe. Then, of course, you move then to the outlet welfare fund. The APC government under Tinubu says they are going to seed fund an outlet welfare fund. They are going to establish that. That's key. We have seen some of our professionals, ex-professionals who retire and die in penury. Some of them can't even feed and all that. It doesn't elevate where they are coming from. So sports needs to inspire. And you only inspire by treating those who have gone through it well. And so an outlet welfare fund is key. How do you bring in the private sector? Of course, I don't want to come into football because football now has new managers of the game. You allow them to, you see what the better master plan left behind by Derek. Look at how the managers of the game are adhering to this master plan. And then, of course, you come back home. You come back home and look at the competition level. How are we going to make our mark in competition? You talk about podium placing and all whatnot, according to Tinubu's agenda. How many medals can we win in the Africa game, in the Olympics, in African Championship, and all that? And then the politics of sports itself. Yes, the politics. Sports helps to bring politics. So there's as I said, he can keep it simple and move in the right direction, but he needs to be deliberate. He needs to be intentional, and he needs to understand that sports has its own language. Sports has its own spirit. He has a spirit. If you don't treat it well, it will hit you hard, and
you may never
your political career may never be the same.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Let's talk about you. You've been in this game, in this business for so long. I'm funny enough, I was surprised. You said I shouldn't refer to you as a veteran. But for a kid like me, that you literally got me hooked every single day to TV. I mean, I think the first time I met you was at the NIS, that's National Institute for Sports building at the National Stadium alongside, Adegoke Odukoya. The two of you were, that was the first time I met you. That was a long, long time ago. Now, what has been the transition story for you? You talked about the fact that we've had over 30 sport ministers. Why are we not matching our potentials with the reality? I mean, we can't deny the fact that in terms of talent, in terms of potentials, in terms of bright, I mean, we have athletes from Nigeria representing Doha, representing Canada, representing the US. How come we've not made the kind of progress that should have matched the kind of, talent or prospects that we have? What exactly is the problem?
Okay, I was almost 15 years when Kainji Dam came on, and we thought the whole of Nigeria will be fully lit. Light up Nigeria. Today we are still in darkness. We have everything to provide the kind of energy. Even close to us in Niger, they come and take uranium there to light up France. Niger will even provide light for. So you are asking me a question which is a question that even will rebound on the country itself. After 16 years of independence, where is Nigeria today? Where are we? We are still in our northeast all around. Is it the roads? Is it the light which we are talking about? God said that let there be light. Is there light? The first element. You are not. So when you ask me, how come we have all these potentials and talents scattered and we have not harnessed them? It's because over time we have not done anything right. And the little things you do right are the things that exalt a nation. It's there. It's a principle in the Bible. If you don't do the right thing, you will not be able to exalt a nation. If you don't do the right thing, you will not be able to exalt a nation. So Righteousness exalts a nation. Whether you are a Christian or a Muslim, or you are even traditionally, when you do the little things right, it will exalt. So the point is that we are so narrow-minded in our operation. We have a culture of celebrating. I don't want to say we celebrate mediocrity. We enthrone it. We enthrone mediocrity all around. And in sports, you expect excellence. And do we have that? Yeah. I don't want to get emotional. I don't want to get emotional. But sometimes it pains you because I used to say that people who can read have no business leading. In Nigeria, you have people who lead who don't read, and so how do they want to teach? So it's the same thing in sports. People from physical and health education, you have so many graduates from all these departments in the different universities. How many of them are in the sports ministry? Even the sports industry policy, when it came out, the first protest area came from NAFA, the National Association of Physical Health, Education, Recreation and Dance members. They said they were not carried along, and this is their turf. This is their domain. They are not part of it. Does that tell you something? Does it say about our culture of professionalism, where the professionals in a particular sector are excluded out of the mainstream? What you have is a Jankara arrangement of vulcanizer. You patch the tire, let it.
Let's just move to the next destination.
Move over.
Okay, there's a new global phenomenon now, which is the constant rise of women's football. The Super Falcons have qualified for every single FIFA Women's World Cup since 1999, and we've never moved past the quarterfinal stage. We got into this one, started off our first game, a goalless draw against the Olympic champions Canada. We defeated the co-host Australia. We played a goalless draw against, Ireland. Lost by penalties to the European champions, the Three Lionesses. In all of this, there's been constant talks about having balance in terms of the kind of engagement or the kind of commitment that we give to men's sport. We should also bring it into female sport. A friend of mine, Akintayo, is also texting, and that's where this question is coming from. Akintayo is asking that, do we need to create the association for women's sports? So that if we cannot, it's appalling when we hear that the Super Falcons are protesting.
There are too many associations. It doesn't help.
So how do we follow? How do we get into it? Countries around the world.
Let me tell you something. If you provide a level playing ground in this country, the women will even excel even more than us. That we don't even need to be intentional in creating parity in sport. I'm saying that if we provide the basics, the women will cash on it even faster than us. One FIFA president of Joseph Blatter said the future of the game is feminine. He was looking at the fact that the women hold the key to the family. They are the ones who take the children out to play. And if these women are attached or aligned to football, that will be their first port of call when they are carrying the children. And so the game will prosper because it becomes a family thing, and over time, even both women, girls and boys, will be involved in the family. That's the strength of that statement. People don't understand it. It's not just saying the future is feminine because women will come and seduce everybody with their good looks and everything, and you enjoy it. No, that is the strength of the statement. And the World Cup, this World Cup, Women's World Cup, what you just said is the metaphor of how our growth over time has been stunted. The Super Falcons beat Australia, who got to the semi-finals of this competition. The Super Falcons stretched the English, who got to the final of this competition. If you are a student of arithmetic, I don't know whether you did arithmetic or you did add math or you did
it was further maths. It was further maths.
Further maths. If A could be B and B could be C, what would be D? What it means is that we have shortchanged our potentials over time. The Super Falcons you saw beating Australia and stretching England to lose on a painful penalty could have. Although in football, you don't get to look at anything else than the result. But if you look at that simple analysis, what it means is that they had the potential to get to the final of this competition, and they've been playing in every Spain that won the World Cup. This is their third appearance in the Women's World Cup. So what is it that they have done that is super, that is extra, that is beyond the ordinary? They have won the under-17. They have won the under-20. So that tells you that there is a program. There's a strategy for development. What is the strategy for women's development? FIFA during COVID came out, they gave money to associations. What did we use it for? We had individuals who don't even sit down to think about how to make things happen for other people. They were busy gallivanting and trying to tell the world that they are members of a funny association. Some of us have been in continental associations for over 10 years. We don't shout and make noise about it. But here, everybody just need to keep ego massage. It's a shame. It's a shame. These guys could have gone, and it's not just about winning the Women's World Cup. It's about the money. Spain now goes home. Each player in that team has $270,000 individual money, not even team money. I'm talking $270,000. You know what that would have done for all the girls in the Super Falcons? $270,000. Some of them will say bye-bye to the game.
Some of them will not even play football again. Now, Dr. Mitchell, you made mention of Continental Association. So let me go a little personal with you. You've actually been at the helm of affairs for HYPES. HYPES is the International Sports Press Association. And, it's witnessed some consistent growth. I just went through their page just yesterday evening, and I saw how has Nigeria been benefiting from, this International Sports Press Association. You've been the president there for a while now. What has it been like, and how do we benefit?
I stepped aside. I was president for 9 years, the African president for 9 years, and the vice president also for 9 years. And 18 years in the executive committee.
That's a long time.
International Sports Press Association, and you can see how next year AIPS will be 100 years old. It was established
in 1924.
Paris. The same year the Olympics took place in Paris. So 100 years of the Olympics, 100 years of AIPS. And you know what? The first board meeting of AIPS took place inside a boxing ring in Paris.
Wow.
When we met. And what was it? It was just to emphasize that as journalists, we will keep fighting for our independence every time. And inside the ring, the fight will be unceasing. It will be a hard fight, and we'll have to give it everything, and it will be consistent. It was the measure of how we have to fight, not only for the independence of our thoughts or the independence of our expression, but also the independence of how we operate. These days, technology is virtually artificial intelligence will soon
it will kick everybody out of jobs.
It will soon be reporting matches. You just put in the
basic information, and that's all.
Basic information, and you'll be reporting. And then athletes will not be talking to you. They will be talking to you on Instagram, on Twitter. You can't get the real voice. You can't even see the athletes. You can't even feel them. You can't look at their eyes and get to write about their emotions. Those days are gone. I pity journalists these days because there's so much of read what he said on his Twitter. All those things sometimes are done by some people if to borrow the campaign grammar. People stay in the room and write. Anyway, in terms of benefit, as an AIPS member, the AIPS card gives you access to every sports stadium in the world, all the 5 continents. If you can put that of the
Oceania.
The Oceania group, yes. Yeah. So you find that it gives you access. I know friends who are in UK, they use it to access games. In Europe, so for them, it's even the passport to do some good work as journalists. I mean, that's one benefit. More than anything else is the program we have. the only sports awards for professionals where you have remuneration for your recognition, and that recognition comes from what you have done. The AIPS Sports Media Award is easily the jewel in the crown. I mean, in
it's
a
like
category
it's like the Grammys for sport journalists.
It's more than the Grammy. The Grammy you don't go home with dollars.
But this one you go with some good money. Okay, but I would open the conversation now. The lines are buzzing already, and what we usually do is that we'll keep our guests on the line so that you get to hear some of the questions that the callers would ask, and if there's any comments you also want to say. So, Dr. Mitchell, I would appreciate if I can keep you on the line, and so that we can open the conversation and people can call in. Hope that's not a problem.
No.
Thank you.
Sports is a labor of love for me.
Thank you. So, in case you're just tuning in, I'm sure if you've heard that voice and then you're quite familiar with sport journalism from the way back days, then you understand who Dr. Mitchell Obi is. He joins us today. He's, in summary, a media and sports solutionist, and he's actually giving quite a lot of such solutions. I remember when we were talking earlier in the day, and he asked me a question. He said, "At what cost?" And for a while, I can't remember the last time someone gave me a question, and I was speechless for a few seconds. I'm like, okay, that's good. So he's joined us, and we've gone through some of the issues, the challenges that the new sport minister is going to meet on ground, and the potentials that we have, and the things he needs to do. I hope that we get to, push this narration, and people would understand that truly we have unlimited potentials with our sport business in this country. So the next question I'm going to ask you after this call is, how serious a business is sports? People always say sport is serious business. Sport is serious business. How much of a business is sport? But I will hold your thoughts, Dr. Mitchell Obi. The phone lines are buzzing, and the people would like to talk to you. 0913-600-0410. Let's get straight into the conversation. Hello, good evening.
Good evening. This is Okambelina.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir. Dr. Michelle, I greet you.
Yeah, my brother, I salute.
In fact, I've been reading his articles in the newspaper for a long time.
I was editor of the Guardian in 1984. I was sports editor in 1987. I was editor Guardian on Sunday.
Exactly. Okay. Now my question is like this.
I'm with you.
My question is like, look at the kind of the wealth of experience that this person has in this country. How come? What does the other man in Calabar? What does he know about sport that they bring? What else? Look at Kanu Wanko. Look at all those people there. Why can't you appoint them into these places?
Dr. Mitchell will be on the phone.
Morning.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.